everyone! Merry Christmas to everyone! And today, for this particular Animation Friday, I thought it would be interesting, to address something that is Christmassy and also reflects heavily onto the holiday, and that is Santa Claus, and in particular, this case, the stop-motion animated TV special Santa Claus is Coming to Town. Now, this one was made in 1970. So it has got the 70s vibe in there. And it's actually, I think, a very interesting stop motion special. And it's probably one of the more recognized ones. Um, so it's probably next to Rudolph as being one of the more memorable ones. And it offers a very unique interpretation as far as Santa Claus is concerned. Because a lot of the times when Santa Claus is put into a movie, um, there is a sense of trying to um, give him some kind of involvement in the story, um, as opposed to really showcasing Santa as a character and how sort of he developed. And I like how this particular short explores that angle because we actually get to see how Santa was sort of created, I guess, so to speak. You know, how his um, whole uh, idea behind gift giving sort of came about. And as to whether or not this displays any amount of historical accuracy as to behind the legend, I seriously doubt that, but at the same time, it still offers a very interesting and I think creative uh, interpretation, to say the least. And you really do see how Santa sort of grows up, you know, and starts off as, at least in this case, an orphan, and eventually kind of grows up into the person that he is. And I like too how they handle the traditions of the reindeer flying and the gift giving, uh, and you also see too how there's sort of a plot that ends up kind of occurring into the traditions, at least as far as Christmas is concerned, because you'll see how Santa sort of stumbles upon this one particular town and how sort of his toy giving is kind of against the town's, I guess, ways, so to speak. And you sort of see how, despite the town leader in this case not really wanting these gifts to be given to children, Santa still sort of does them anyway. So you kind of see how, you know, Santa is sort of going against the status quo, at least within this film. And or TV special, excuse me. And it's interesting to say the least as far as how they approach this whole development and execute and presentation of Santa Claus. And again, there is a lot of holiday spirit shoved in this, as you would imagine. Uh, it is, I think, appealing to both children and adults. I think more so to children because it is kind of more simple and direct. Um, but at the same time, still has enough going on, similar to Rudolph. But I think, although it's um, largely a children's based film, there's still a lot to, I think, enjoy, and there is a sense of trying to kind of think a little bit outside the box as far as Santa is concerned, and offering various explanations as to how certain traditions work and all of that. And it has a lot of charm, and it comes off as very uh, appealing, at least. And also the characters are fairly likable, and the Santa figure within this film is also uh, not only enjoyable to watch, but he sort of has a really clear-cut ethic when it comes to distributing the presents, which I think is very important to kind of note as far as the holiday is concerned. Is you have to show some amount of good, like it's not just handed to the kids, you know. It's you have to show through your morals that you're deserving of something. And I think that's something that's important, and I think is something that a lot of people, at least in particular within the United States, kind of like to uh, teach their children is to value the idea of doing good, um, and hence being awarded for doing good. So that's really ultimately all I can really say about this particular stop motion animated TV special, probably giving too much away. But at the same time, when you really look at the animation, even though it is, again, it's like Rudolph's, it's not as updated, it's not as clean, there is that simple charm that I think is missing in a lot of animation, at least nowadays, because we've gone completely computerized um, as far as animation is concerned. So it's nice to see this sort of old school kind of, it's not as flowy, it's not as, um, you know, picturesque in the sense that it looks more like toys. It looks very figurine-y, and it doesn't look like um, this super perfect thing that came out of the oven of a Disney studio. So that's what I think is kind of good about these particular shorts, and I think why they kind of remain so iconic. It's the fact that they rely on fairly little as far as the animation, and despite that, still can offer, I think, a very interesting and unique interpretation of Santa Claus, and at the same time, do it in a way that I think can even appeal to kids nowadays, as well as to adults who even grew up with it. So, and I remember growing up in particular with this one as well. So, if you haven't seen it, I would definitely recommend it. But I think that's really ultimately all I can say about it. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a Merry Christmas. This whole month is still going to technically be holiday-esque oriented. Um, I'm going to try to dive into some things that may be a little bit more um, wintry, as well as New Year's Eve related, approaching to the end of this year. But I will be commenting on some things that have, I think, at least relevant within the um, at least within this particular month, when it comes to uh, the topics that I usually discuss on my channel. So I think, though, that's really all I can say, though. If there are any questions, comments, concerns, we're more than happy to answer them. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you all have a pleasant day, week, month, and year, and a Merry Christmas. And goodbye.